Episode 200 includes my favourite storyline. And the storyline I'm talking to is the amnesia one. And the reason it's my favourite storyline is because it was my own idea. We were very seldom as a cast asked about ideas for storylines or character development. But on this one occasion, we were all asked to come down to Grundy's offices in South Yarra in Melbourne and sit around and come armed with a précis of what our characters had done, what we thought our characters could not do, and what we thought perhaps our characters could do. And it was extremely interesting because I sat and I listened to a lot of actors talking about, sometimes I think, not just their characters, but what perhaps they felt comfortable doing, not just the characters. Sheila Florence said, "I'll do anything, darling, I'll do anything." And I actually said, I think, given the right circumstances, there's not much that my character could not do. But I said, my character's been hit in the head so often recently. We haven't done amnesia. How about that for an idea? And it was picked up, and I was thrilled and delighted that Denise Morgan, my very, very favourite writer on the show ever, actually had the job of writing that particular storyline for me. And I found it really interesting to play the character of B. Smith as she was before she had been an institutionalised criminal with no knowledge of ever having been in prison. And I just watched the episode recently, or just last night actually, and I was really quite pleased with myself because I think that I even looked different when I was playing her as she was. I think I looked younger, and it certainly wasn't helped with makeup because I wasn't supposed to look younger. My speech patterns were slightly different, and she was not the woman that had been in prison for 10 years. I mean, I shouldn't be blowing my own trumpet, perhaps, but that is what I was trying to achieve. And now, looking at it 20 years later, I was quite pleased with myself. So I gave myself a small pat on the back. Denise Morgan was not only our best writer, I think she was also our most generous writer. She's certainly the only writer that ever worked on Prisoner that actually rang me on 2 occasions that I remember after the show had gone to air in storylines and blocks that she had written to say, "Thank you, Val, for taking my script so much further than I had written it." And I was really quite astounded and very flattered and very grateful that a writer would take the time to look at my work and to understand that what she had written was an embryo and that the actors had to breathe life into it. And I think perhaps a lot of writers seem to think that their job is finished and that the work is finished once they've finished writing it. And of course, if it's for screen, that's not true. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know about episode 200 is we actually had to shoot one of the scenes twice. Well, I know, I'm not quite right. We didn't actually shoot it the first time because when we got on location and we were about to do the scene where B. Smith goes to the school to look for her little girl, Debbie, because she doesn't remember that Debbie is dead, it had been written that she went to a business college looking for an 18-year-old. And I didn't notice anything wrong with that when I first read it. And the writer obviously had written it that way, and the directors and the producers and everybody else and they had let it go by. And they were actually going to use my own daughter, Cassie, who actually played Debbie in the original scenes, the only ever scene with Debbie in it, and she's my real daughter. And they're going to use her again as an 18-year-old. And we were about on location, about to do the scene. I was stepping into the character and I suddenly went, "Oh, wait a minute, this is all wrong. I shouldn't be looking for an 18-year-old. I should be looking for an 8-year-old. I've lost 10 years of my memory." So that was a huge waste of money. Poor old Grundy's had to pay for all those actors sitting there on location. And we had to reshoot the scene the following week. And in fact, not only did we have to reshoot it, we had to talk the producers. Denise Morgan and I had to talk the producer into allowing us to reshoot it because it was the only physical clue that the audience had that B had lost 10 years of her life and her memory. This is what she'd gone looking for, this little 8-year-old, the little girl that she'd left behind when she was first taken to prison. And I had the great pleasure of going to the school that this little girl went to, and choosing the girl out of the class that would play Debbie for me.
Changed my mind. Drive on, please.
Right, everybody, there's to be an immediate cell search.
Oh, yeah? What for?
We don't need any reason, Gaffney, and you know it. Now, all of you, back to your cells and wait outside the door. Cut the chat, Brian, just a minute.
Come on, Hunt, move it.
You know, if you told us what you were looking for, we might be able to save you a lot of trouble.
We're looking for anything you shouldn't have.
Miss Bennett, can I see you a minute, please? Look at that. The usual for the business to have this kind of a stockpile?
No, it is not. Bryant, Burns in here. You're getting a little careless, aren't you? Both of you. Now start clearing that lot out from under there and stack it on your beds.
Come in. Mum, what a pleasant surprise. Come on in. Sit down. Is everything all right? I mean, you're not due to visit me until next month.
Yes. No.
What is it?
You've heard B. Smith's escaped.
Yes, I have.
Yes, well, she's at my place. She arrived there last night. No.
I have to call the police.
I wouldn't have come here at all if I thought you'd do that.
What did you expect me to do?
She needs help, Mrs. Morris. She's sick.
In that case, I have no choice.
She can't remember anything that's happened during the last few years. As far as she's concerned, she's Mrs. Smith, wife and mother, and that's all.
If she had amnesia, why would she remember you?
Well, all I know is she remembered my old address, went there, and finally found out where I live now. She still doesn't remember me, just that I was a friend.
Why you especially?
All right. About 2 years ago, when B. Smith escaped from hospital, I let her stay with me for a couple of days.
The police said she caused that accident. One man is dead and another one is critical. Mum, I have no choice. She's proven herself to be dangerous.
But she doesn't remember.
I must turn her in.
Then you turn me in, too.
I'll say that you came here as soon as you could.
And I'll deny it.
Mum, you're on parole. You know what'll happen.
Look, I'm not going to turn B in until you or someone promises they'll help her. And before she goes back inside. Because once she's there, she'll be on her own.
The idea was to set Margot up. She must have got wind of it and framed us instead.
Yeah, she wants to be top dog, and we don't want her to be. She's a real bully, and she's the one who ought to be in the pound. She's trying to take over from B.
I see. And I suppose you think it should be Bryant.
I don't want any part of it. But I'm damned if I'm going to stand around and watch Margot shove everyone else around.
Then you should have told us about it.
You have been warned before about infighting, and I will not tolerate it. Now, you can go back and tell the others. If there is any more trouble, the offenders will be put in solitary for as long as I think fit. And this will also be confiscated. That will be all. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Wait by the gates.
Oh, what do you think?
Well, it makes sense. They were the two that Mr. Harrison heard talking about there being weapons in the cells. Now, they don't let us overhear things like that unless they're up to something.
Well, I hope he's not the sort of officer the women will use.
Oh, I wouldn't worry about Terry. He's onto all the old tricks. But still, the cells have to be searched to be on the safe side.
Yes, of course. The problem is in stopping the women from vying for top position.
Good night, Miss Bennett.
Good night, Mr. Harrison.
Oh, Miss Bennett. I'll be finished in about 5 minutes myself. Would you like a drink?
Drink? Well, no, thank you.